So I also decided that using pictures will be very helpful to understand better what I'm doing. You can see this comic here, and some of us who are like grammar Nazis were probably correcting our friends and family, and people still make the same mistakes. And you wonder if they're going to change ever or not. And this is another type of correcting mistake in Egypt. So I'm going to talk about error corrections. So in general, second language acquisition research, the main aim is to see how language is acquired and how to make this process easier. And how it's related to my presentation is, does error correction work, like in general? Oh, see, like I made a mistake here actually. Does error correction work? And you can see this meme here as well, like, sometimes that's what students think, like, no matter how many years I study, I still make the same mistakes, and they're like in their second year and they come to me and they say like, oh, it's been 2 years and I still like make mistakes. Like, it's just 2 years, it's not the end of the world. But when we correct their mistakes, does it help or not? One of the papers, and Dr. Ellis, actually there is a video you can watch online, he is talking about whether errors should be corrected in general or it's pointless, which types of errors should be corrected, who should correct errors, so should it be like the teacher or should be other students, other people maybe, which type of errors should be corrected, and like which ones are actually leading to better acquisition of the foreign language, and when should they be corrected. So if a student makes a mistake, do we correct them right away, or do we wait 10 minutes and tell them later, write an email later, or in a week or sometime? So all of these questions researchers are trying to answer in their research. Okay. Most of the research was done in oral corrective feedback. So when students are speaking and when and how a teacher can correct them. Not so much research was done in written, about written corrective feedback. It all started with this paper in 1996 when Truscott said that written feedback actually doesn't have any effect on second language acquisition. And after that, researchers started to write these papers, write these articles, try to see whether it is true or not. The main opponent in this debate was Ferris, and most of her studies actually proved that written corrective feedback does work and does lead to acquisition of a foreign language. But most of these studies by Ferris were done on revising, so students wrote one paper and then the teacher gave some type of feedback, and then students had to rewrite write this paper using all their feedback. So there is a need of more studies where students actually write new pieces of writing versus just revising old materials. There are different types of feedback. So the main, these are the main ones: direct versus indirect. So direct is when you cross out the word and you write the correct word, or if it's just maybe spelling mistake, or case ending, conjugation. So you provide the correct form. Indirect will be just crossing it out without giving the information what it should be. With and without metalinguistic explanation. So if it's like a student wrote he go to school, you cross out go, you write goes, and then you write something like verb conjugation or present tense. This would be metalinguistic explanation. Without it, if you just write goes, that's obviously no explanation. Then focus versus unfocused. Focus is when you correct only one type of mistake. So if you're correcting only present tense conjugation, that would be focused. Unfocused, you're correcting everything. Research that was done on direct and indirect corrective feedback. So the ones on top here, they show that direct correction is more effective. the second line is indirect. They said that indirect correction is more effective, and then some studies said there is no difference actually. So there is no conclusion yet which one is more effective. So this is something, if you are interested, you can do research more on this. Then Sheen in 2007 claimed that direct plus metalinguistic correction is more effective, versus there are other studies that say there is no difference. Okay. Then as for focused, so again, Sheen et al. In 2009 said that focused correction is more effective, and there's another study that says there's no difference. And that's what led me to my study, because there's no conclusive results. So this is what I decided to focus on, focused versus unfocused feedback. If we're looking at languages, most of the studies are about English and mainly about articles, correction of articles in the second usage. There are some for Spanish, French, and German, as you can see, a little bit more for German. Nothing that I found on Russian, so one of unexplored languages. So this is actually, I haven't done this study, this is what I'm planning to do next semester. I'm working on my dissertation right now. And why I decided to focus on this is, again, there is still no definite answer whether written feedback works or it doesn't work, and which feedback in particular is more effective. And there are claims that if it's only one feature that is targeted in correction, that that feedback is more beneficial and it actually leads to better acquisition for students. Previous research is not conclusive, as I just said. Some research studies say focus is more effective, some say it doesn't matter. Also, there are a lot of limitations in previous studies. A lot of them didn't have control group. They didn't have any pre-test or post-tests to measure the accuracy and gains. Sheen, for example, had just 2 write-in tasks, and that's it, so it's not enough data. A lot of them used revised writing, so they didn't produce any new writing samples. There is no direct comparison of levels, so it's focused on advanced or intermediate only. And as I said before, mainly they are based on English, nothing that I found on Russian. So these are my research questions. So I'm trying to figure out which feedback is more effective, and if it matters which level. Maybe focused feedback is more effective for low intermediate, but it's not as much for advanced or vice versa. And which maybe unfocused is more effective, maybe focused. So this is what I'm going to study. And I'm going to have a language attitude questionnaire as part of it to see if students actually notice when professors or instructors correct their mistakes. Then I'll have pre-test, post-test, and delayed post-test. They are going to be basically the same test but 3 different versions of the same test. They will include error corrections, so they will have sentences where part of the sentence is underlined and they need to find and correct the mistake in that part, and then they will be given like several questions. They will need to write a sample. And then during the experimental treatment, there will be 4 essays that they will need to write. During the semester, it will be every 2 weeks. And then they will have an exit question at the end to see if they notice what I was studying and which types of mistakes were corrected, and see if they think they learned anything from this task. So I'm going to use focused feedback. There are 6 cases in Russian, and I'm looking at genitive case because if you are looking at the acquisition order of cases right in the middle, and it's one of the most frequent cases in Russian as well. For unfocused, I'm going to correct genitive case, prepositions, past tense, present tense. This is similar to what Sheen et al. did because in a focus group they had also 4 different linguistic features they were looking at, except for they had articles instead of genitive case. And Ferris also claims that those features that are rule-based, like cases or tenses, they are the ones which actually, when you correct these mistakes, they lead to acquisition, versus prepositions are not rule-based, and it doesn't matter if you correct them or not, it takes longer for students to acquire. So I'm going to use 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th year of Russian at IU, and the timeline is 7 weeks, and then I'm planning to have a delayed post-test about like a month later after the last essay and the last test. So this is the plan. I haven't done anything yet, I'm just preparing. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
How many students will you be testing this on?
So it's the question how many people sign up. Like I'm aiming as much as possible, but I don't know.
Do you have access to how many, like in 2nd and 3rd year?
So 2nd year is about like 30 to 40 students if they sign up. I actually, I'm planning to do it during the summer and during the fall semester. So in spring will be the pilot, but so I can collect as many, like I can have as many participants as I can.
Are you going to try to have experimental control within each of those levels?
Yeah, I'm planning to have 3 groups. So one will have focused feedback, one will have unfocused feedback, and one control.
We will have no feedback.
Right, control. They will write the same essays. They will get feedback like "good job" or something like that.
Content feedback or something.
Yeah.
Is it possible to measure their motivation level? It seems like motivation would be a factor here in the type of person who would receive feedback. If they're very driven to learn Russian,
Right.
my guess is they would be lapping up any feedback that you give them. And if they're just in there for a grade, they are more likely to use the same errors over and over and over. So could you measure motivation as part of your study?
This is what I want to plan. Like I plan to include these questions in language attitude questionnaire to see like if they are motivated, and then include such questions here as well.
That's great.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about that too. Like some people never.
And it may
even
not be a
look.
factor, but it
Yeah.
just seems like it should be.
Right.
Okay, and this will be done outside of the classroom.
So they actually have to write essays during their studies anyway. So this will be part of the classroom.
So I was just wondering how you're going to get the control in there, because that's been an issue. In one reason that a lot of studies don't have control groups
Right.
is because the teacher feels she has to give feedback, and not giving feedback is seen as, violating your pedagogical values.
I read about this in some studies as well, but some studies decided that even worse, they don't write anything. The control group is in the classroom. They just take the test and they don't write, versus others too. But the studies show that even when students write, that helps as well, even if they're not corrected. Like just writing practice helps. So this is my reasoning that like they're still writing even though they don't get feedback.
You just have to explain that to the IR.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny maybe already mentioned it, but the post-test and the delayed post-test, what is the time frame? Is the delayed post-test, how much later is
Good
that?
question.
So the post-test will be right when they receive their final feedback on the last essay. They will have the post-test, and then delayed will be a month later.
A month.
And we still
Can we
an
have
hour
another
full.
meeting in a year and you let us know how it went?
Yes. Hopefully it will work out.
Yes.